Hello and welcome to Shite Talk, an Irish history podcast. If you like listening to the podcast, like the one you're doing right now, if you want to do that in like a live experience, instead of doing it when you're like walking your dog, let's say, or if you're cooking dinner, if that's how you listen to it, or if you're in work, skiving off when you should be paying more attention, but you want to do that in a live scenario where myself and Kev sit down on a stage and tell a brand new story to a big old audience where you could be part of. Well, we're doing that in the Wild Duck down in Temple Bar in Dublin. It's our last gig booked in for the year at the minute, so if you fancy seeing what you're listening to now live, well then the tickets are going to be in the description of this episode, in our bios on social media. If you Google Shite Talk Linktree, there'll be tickets up there. Or just find us in the street, come down to the Halfpenny Comedy Club where we gig and flyer outside of to ask us all the questions you need then. But other than that, the news this week is that we've been busy with the studio build, getting that ready. We're adding video and dampening the walls and lots of stuff. We just had our first guest yesterday, but we haven't had time to edit the episode yet, because instead of it just being audio, or the first couple of test episodes we did just with a phone shooting the two of us from the side, we decided to add 2 cameras and do lights and the whole thing. It all seems pretty cool, we're happy with it, but shooting with 2 cameras, it takes a lot more time to edit. It's not just the audio anymore, so we are a little bit behind schedule, haven't got that episode edited yet. That'll be out next week. And in the meantime, we're going to re-release an episode from or just take down from the Patreon, I guess, behind the paywall, an episode last year about an Aer Lingus Hijacking back in the 80s. I won't give anything else away, but if you like this episode, or if you want to hear any of our live episodes, or any of our cowboy specials where we talk about episodes of things we can't put on the regular feed, like Sean Quinn or Pat Hickey, the IOC ticketing scandal, the Too Hot to Handle, Roy Keane, Mick McCarthy, Saipan saga, all the good stuff, but you know, the salacious stuff, the after dark, Shite Talk after dark, that's what we're going for on the Patreon. So, or if you just want to support us, basically. But anyway, I'll leave you off. Go listen to this episode, have fun, and buy tickets to that live gig on May 25th in the Wild Duck. Good luck, Shafter.
Gather around now, you're in for a story. Old tales of lore, all in search of a glory. The history and mystery of lads, lasses and all. Discoveries and voyages, the rise and the fall. Follow me now as we go back in time. We trace the steps of Irish lineage to find. Joseph from Carlisle and Kevin the Dog guide you through the ways of Shite Talk.
We're going to sweat through this now.
Sweat,
instead.
Jesus fuck, it's fucking
It's hot and we're wearing. I can't take my socks off because I'm going to put my feet in your bed.
Do it. I'm giving you permission
Class.
on this because it's too
sweltering.
warm, and I need you on top form for this episode because this is a good one.
Oh.
All right. Do you want to?
Yeah,
I mean, this is a pretty good opening sentence. Sometimes we kind of faff about, and it's like, in 1631, the Episcopal CEO. This is just straight in. You want to hear it?
Go on.
All right. On the 2nd of May, 1981, Aer Lingus Flight 164, en route from Dublin to London, was hijacked. It's about 15 minutes away from landing in London Heathrow when a passenger runs into the bathroom, douses himself in petrol, bursts into the cockpit of the plane, and then demands that they keep on flying.
Great idea.
Yeah, it's so simple.
It really is. Now, was it actually gas or was it just like water, like your man who went into the FAI headquarters?
I'd say it probably was.
Or did we ever get to the bottom of that? Was it?
No, he's covers himself in gas. Yeah, the FAI. I left that bit out because we've mentioned it several times in other episodes. It is a great story. A proud Dundalk man on Christmas doused himself in gasoline, threatened to light himself on fire unless he could talk to the head of the FAI. But no, I'd say the gasoline is real because you'd smell it.
But in shock, it'd be you'd be.
This
so
goes on
afraid.
for quite a while. Someone would at some point be like, "That you're just wet." But so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say it's gasoline. The bit is, I don't know about the second bit. One of the cabin crew, Deirdre Dunphy, said that he also had 2 vials with him, which he claimed were cyanide gas. That's probably less likely. But he's covered in gasoline. He's threatening to set himself on fire. This is why you can't bring more than 150 mils of liquid onto a plane.
100.
It's getting
We've
worse every time.
We've let it go.
We've let it go. The time was a man could walk on with 2 like just big gallons of gasoline.
Yeah, the 80s were a great time to fly.
The 90s were a great time to fly. We flew years after this, and were you ever in the cockpit when you were a kid?
In my bedroom.
Every night. So I dreamed of flying away from Carlo.
No, I don't think I've ever got to go into a cockpit. Even to this day, I've never been in.
Yeah, well, it's now. Yeah, you wouldn't get to do it now.
You hold my hand the next time we get a plane and be like, he really wants to see it.
Well, I don't really remember. I have vague memories as a child getting to do it, but I think it was just a thing that all the kids in the plane would be allowed to go up and look at the cockpit in the glory days of the 90s. Even though, they're like
before all of those child terrorists.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
started planting bombs up there.
It's not as if there was loads of hijackings before 9/11. They just weren't as big. But this is one of them. A man just hijacked the plane, covered himself in petrol. He's got cyanide gas, perhaps. He wants the plane and its 108 passengers and 5 crew members to be rerouted to Tehran in Iran. But due to fuel shortages, he does agree that they should refuel in France first.
Okay.
Yeah, they talk him down from that. If you're flying from Dublin to London, he's like, what if
you're not getting
let's
that.
just fly the whole way, just keep on passing that and fly probably 10 times the distance.
They probably hadn't even refueled whatever they'd taken off. And the engine light was probably on going, no, do you know what? I have it in it.
I know it's on empty, but I know her. Yeah. I know her better than
the light has just come on. It's a 45-minute flight. That's nothing for one of these.
I've been flying this bird for 10 years.
Have you ever run out of petrol?
Once. Only once.
And do you feel like an idiot?
It was my mother's car. I had to go up.
So you didn't know it?
I didn't know it. She wasn't my own. I thought I knew her, but then she turned on me. I had to go up to like a house, knock on the door and ask for a lift to the petrol station. Get a thing of gasoline and go back. I've gotten very close, especially...
Is that the time you spent 2 years in a basement?
Yeah, but eventually he brought me down for gasoline. I've gotten very close, especially since I quit my job and the fuel prices have gone mad. I've definitely gotten closer to running out of fuel in the last 6 months than ever before. But... So this guy, he also didn't know how much fuel planes should have. So he agrees, he concedes that they should stop in France first. So it makes his way as far as Le Touquet Côte de Peuple Airport in northern France. It gets there about 9 o'clock local time. I think the hijacking took place at like 8:30. 9 o'clock, they're in France. While on the runway, he has the captain, Edward Foyle, throw a 9-page statement out the window, with the demand that it be published in the Irish press.
Ooh.
It seemed weird for me that the cockpit would have an openable window. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Is he just winding it down and trucking this thing out?
Surely, because it has to be like not vacuum sealed, whatever it is, but yeah.
I mean, but it's also a time when a man can just stroll in. It seems like he disobeyed the fasten the seatbelt light, first of all. 15 minutes before landing, he's off fluting around the bathroom, covering himself in petrol, and he just walks in. It said burst into the cockpit, but I would imagine he just opened the door. Yeah,
because I know that hijackings did used to happen, but they wouldn't have been. 9/11 was really a turning point.
Yeah,
everyone was like, "Oh Jesus, that's."
I suppose before that it was kind of like, you hijack a truck. You got a couple of hostages. It's not great, but no one had really just destroyed a city.
This is before Speed.
It is.
Yeah, which means it's before the Father Ted episode of Speed. So Irish people didn't have a concept of terrorism. Oh, apart from...
Well, that'll factor into it now in a second. So, while the plane was arriving in the French airport, Mr. Albert Reynolds was called over to form part of the negotiation team as he was Minister for Transport in Ireland at the time. That seems wildly outside his remit. Like, he's Minister for Transport.
How do you know he wasn't the Minister for Transport hostage situations?
Yeah. Read the fine print, Reynolds. Get going. For fuck's sake. It's a 3-hour flight. I know I can expense it down the line, but I'm out of pocket until that fucking receipt checks in. But like, you don't, if a bank gets robbed, they don't send the Minister for Finance down as part of the negotiation team.
You don't know that.
I don't know that. I wrote that in earlier on. Maybe they do.
When was the last big bank? Oh, I suppose the last big one in Ireland was the one we covered for the...
True, yeah. But there's already hostage bank situations here.
No, they're just holding us out.
No.
We've said that we're going to start doing a video element to the podcast.
So we're going to see us pointing at each other.
That's all that it is. It's just every so often we catch it at the same time that we're like, oh, just...
But, yeah, I don't know. Maybe he wanted to go.
Free trip to France.
Free trip to France, yeah. So there's a great clip on Reading in the Years, 1981, where Reynolds shows up on the runway of the airport, and he's been asked questions by this English reporter. He's got the microphone in his face. But you can also see that there's a journalist behind him. His name's Sam Smith. He's from the Sunday World. Do you know Sam Smith?
He's a famous singer.
Oh, yeah. So he's helping him with the answers. I don't know, he's getting, like, Reynolds is kind of, I don't know, Sam Smith's kind of whispering the answers over his head. Or not whispering them, he's just like, I think it was this minister, and he was like, yes, yeah, that's right, yeah. But, so Sam Smith, from a later interview, would say, I arrived out at Dublin Airport. It was all fairly chaotic. No one knew what to do. No one was very sure about what was going on. Some fella had lifted the plane. He had hijacked the plane. Why had he hijacked the plane? He's a good writer. Usually people have a reason.
Lifted the plane makes it sound like he dropped it into his pocket before he left the store.
He'd fleeced it. Usually they have a reason. They're looking for something in return, to set them free and so forth. No one knew anything, and I didn't honestly believe that the authorities knew very much either at the time. So as you were just saying there, in 1981, the North is in the middle of the Troubles. Bobby Sands, I think, was about 60 days into his hunger strike at this stage. Also, the hijacker had asked to go to Tehran. The Iranian Revolution had just finished, that like a couple of months previous.
I was going to ask you, think he set up the burger shop?
Maybe, yeah. There's a Bobby Sands restaurant in Tehran. Maybe this is all connected. But the American-Iranian hostage situation that's very, very badly covered in that film Argo.
Yes.
Yeah, that had just ended that January, so like 4 or 5 months before this.
Was it that wrong? Was it?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I read a lot of stuff afterwards, but they do. I think the Canadians had done a lot more work in like different spy agencies, and they just kind of got rid of them all in favor of America.
Yeah, I think everyone was just really hot on it at the time because was it the first film Bryan Cranston was doing post Breaking Bad?
Is that true? Is he in that?
I think he is.
I don't know, because it would have been a really, really good documentary that I never would have seen. Instead, I went to see it in the cinema, and they try to make I don't like when films that are by and large about like paperwork and like secret spy stuff and bureaucracy and working behind the scenes, and they still like make it. There's a climactic scene where someone's signing a document and it keeps cutting back to them in the airport as I'm signing this faster. Back to the airport, it's like, will he sign that document in time? It's like, just fucking tell the story.
You keep giving out about this as well. You've been giving out about documentaries in general lately.
No, I want
them like serialized documentaries, right? Just tell me it all in an hour.
Yes. Why do you think we do this podcast? Here's everything.
We haven't done an episode under an hour in about 4 years.
2 hours tops, and then it's done. We haven't done a two-parter in ages. I'm against it now. Just no more fluff, no more cutting to talking heads being like, yeah, Boeing 747, it's a big bird, and then schematics says, I don't give a shit. Just give me the fucking details. I'm getting too hot in this room. That's what's happening here. But so you got a hostage situation, an unknown hijacker. He's thrown his demands out the window of a plane. There's like 113 people like on the line here. Terrorist situation in the north. Is it going to be a diehard? Is he going to start asking for the freedom of PRA members? Or he's flying to Tehran. Is it some sort of anti-American revolutionary?
Can I guess?
What?
It's none of those.
It's not any of those things.
Because you wouldn't have said them in a list like that with that inflection and tone if you were going to actually. I know you too well.
I know. And also, we may have cut it out at the start of this episode, but you already know what the demands are.
Yeah.
But it's also, so the runway interview in that scene, Reynolds is coming out, Sam Smith's there, English reporter has the microphone in his face, and he's asking him what's going on. And in the interview, Reynolds reveals the identity of the hijacker to the public. One Mr. Larry James Downey. Reynolds is then asked what Downey's demands are, and he says that Downey is demanding that the Vatican release the third secret of Fatima.
Yes.
The English reporter asks what that is. And Reynolds genuinely looks like confused and surprised that someone wouldn't know what that is.
Someone once told me the third secret of Fatima, but I was pissed, so I forgot it.
Is that in his...
I think that's in one of those Emmett Corwin.
It's Emmett Corwin, yeah. But I don't know what he said. Someone told
David
me this.
Tynan,
Yeah, but then Oliver Callan's one is... Someone once told me the secret to happiness in a chip shop in Dundalk, but I forgot it, so I did. But...
That's definitely what... I remember seeing that video. I'd be like, yeah, I really like the David Corwin one.
Yeah.
So I don't know why I was just taking this out. But then I saw that Dundalk one and I was like, this is shite. I don't know if I really like Oliver Callan at all. And then every time you mentioned it,
Yeah.
you just bring so much happiness to your face.
Because it's so funny.
It's just because you're from Dundalk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose, Carlo doesn't have anything like that.
Yeah, it's just lots of references to Dundalk and also takes the piss of a very pretentious video from Emma Kerwin at the time.
It's pretty pretentious, but it's good.
Is it?
Yeah.
What if emigration was bad?
Yeah, but it had happened.
Yeah, they're coming after the boys in the tracksuits. What about the boys in the real suits? Standing ovation for 25 minutes.
Gimp suits.
What about the boys in the gimp suits?
Is that how you think Emma Corwin sounds?
No, it's how I think you sound. You're trying to wake me up at 2 a.m. to tell me your manifesto. But
don't tell them about my manifesto yet.
It's pretty
not ready.
It's pretty radical.
I'm writing the sequel first.
Yeah, Manifesto 2.
Manifest 2.
The sequel. The squeakquel.
Manifest 2, the prequel.
There you go. But
yeah.
So he's demanding the third secret of Fatima. English reporter is like, what's that? Right? It's just such a great hallmark of like 1980s Catholic Ireland, where he's genuinely like, what? How do you not know?
What did you call me?
So the third secret of Fatima.
What are the first two?
Yeah. Here we. Well, did you, yeah. So you've heard this story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or the.
No, I knew of it, and I haven't gone and researched it yet because I was going to do an episode of it eventually. But
sure. Yeah. Like I have no idea. I had no idea what these were, but I guess in Catholic Ireland in the 80s it would have been pretty commonish knowledge. Well, so right, going back to the three secrets of Fatima were a series of prophecies revealed to 3 Portuguese shepherds around 1917. So from the 13th of May 1917 until October 1917 sometime, 3 young shepherds called Lucia Santos and her 2 cousins Jacinta Marto and Francisco Marto said that they'd seen the Virgin Mary appear to them about 6 times over the space of those couple of months. The apparition is commonly known as Nossa Senhora de Fatima, or Our Lady of Fatima. Yeah, which, that rings a bell.
Yeah.
This would have been commonish knowledge to Irish people at that time. I think we have like some plaque about the Lady of Fatima in our house.
Huh.
Don't know. People would have made pilgrimages to Fatima.
Are you a religious household?
Not in so much. Well, my parents would be, but the same way that everyone was at that time.
Yeah.
You'd have trinkets from Mechagori and Fatima.
And
Lourdes, yeah. Those are the big 3, I think, in Europe.
Knock.
And Knock. Jesus. I forgot the home turf. But, so 2 of the secrets. So anyway, this all happens in 1917. They see the Virgin Mary over a couple of months. 2 of the secrets are revealed in 1941 in a document printed by Lucia, one of the shepherds, at the request of Jose Alves Correa de Silva, the Bishop of Fatima, basically. So he asked her to write them down. Now, this is 1941, a good 24 years after the events had happened. But the first secret is known as A Vision of Hell.
Oh.
So this is from Lucia's document. I don't know how to do a Portuguese accent. Also, I did Sam Smith's accent a certain way earlier on. No idea if that's what he sounds like.
Was there recordings of him?
Yeah.
You just didn't bother?
Didn't listen to him. No,
Yeah.
I thought it'd be funnier to give him a just... Doesn't matter. Our Lady showed us a great sea of fire. No, I'm dropping it already. I'm done. Right. Our Lady showed us a great sea of fire which seemed to be under the earth. Plunged in this fire were demons and souls in human form, like transparent burning embers, all blackened or burnished bronze, floating about in the conflagration, now raised into the air with the flames that issued from within themselves, together with great clouds of smoke, now falling back on every side like sparks in a huge fire, without weight or equilibrium, and amid shrieks and groans of pain and despair, which horrified us and made us tremble with fear, the demons could be distinguished by their terrifying and repulsive likeness to frightful and unknown animals, all black and transparent. The vision lasted but an instant. How can we ever be grateful enough to our kind Heavenly Mother, who had already prepared us by promising, in the first apparition, to take us to heaven? Otherwise, I think we would have died of fear and terror.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's not a secret.
No.
I don't know what that is.
What do you think that means?
She says that the Virgin Mary showed them a glimpse of hell.
Yeah. Well,
and that it was filled with fire.
It's a secret in the sense of that you haven't seen it. We've been kind of told.
I suppose, yeah.
It's the same thing for heaven, I guess. That
yeah.
No one's ever been to either and come back.
Do you ever see?
There's no TripAdvisor.
No. Do you ever see depictions of angels as they're described in the Bible?
Big tits.
Massive. You wouldn't believe.
Nice.
No, because you always see them in modern depictions of films or whatever. It's just like angelic, usually very white, fair-haired.
Wings.
Yeah, I've seen, if you look at like depictions of how they're actually described when they are described in the Bible, it's like giant floating eyes and rings moving around.
Ah.
They're very bizarre. There's some cool like sort of animated drawings of them you can look up. But so I wonder where our idea of like hell, fire and brimstone and the pointed horns devil and stuff. That's probably not in the Bible. Where does that come from?
But when the angels when they follow Lucifer down to hell, when they do the bad things,
yeah,
they morph into like demons. Because demons have legs and arms.
Well, yeah,
but angels don't, is what you're telling me.
I don't know how to describe them. Well, so she describes them in this as they could be distinguished by their terrifying and repulsive likeness to frightful and unknown animals, all black and transparent. That none of that makes any sense. How are they have a repulsive likeness to unknown animals? They look an awful lot like those animals that you don't know.
Yeah.
And they're black and transparent.
Is the night black and transparent? You can see through the night.
There you go.
Is that a thing?
I don't know, but
I think what they're trying to do there, Kevin.
Yes,
that's your name, right?
Yeah, go on.
I think what they're doing there is like a literary device.
Yeah.
Where they're basically saying, sure, they're everything and nothing. Oh. They're both sides of they're the entire spectrum.
Yeah. Well,
I wouldn't take it literal. Much like anything in the Bible. Don't.
Well, this is just what she was referring to as the first secret that the Virgin Mary told her and her cousins in 1917. So for some reason, she's writing them down like 25 years later, and she's just a depiction of hell as she remembers it. That's secret number one. All right. The second secret from the same document.
It better not be a vision of heaven.
No, it's about World War I ending, but another war starting soon after, during the reign of Pope Pius XI, if Russia did not convert to Catholicism.
Oh.
So she writes down, "You have seen hell where the souls of poor sinners go. To save them, God wishes to establish in the world devotion to my Immaculate Heart. If what I say to you is done, many souls will be saved and there will be peace. The war is going to end. But if people do not cease offending God, a worse one will break out during the pontification of Pope Pius XI. When you see a night illuminated by an unknown light, know that this is the great sign given to you by God that he is about to punish the world for its crimes, by means of war, famine, and persecution of the Church and of the Holy Father. To prevent this, I shall come to ask for the consecration of Russia to my Immaculate Heart, and the communion of reparation on the first Saturdays. If my requests are heeded, Russia will be converted, and there will be peace. If not, she will spread her errors throughout the world, causing wars and persecutions of the Church. The good will be martyred. The Holy Father will have much to suffer. Various nations will be annihilated. In the end, my Immaculate Heart will triumph. The Holy Father will consecrate Russia to me, and she shall be converted, and a period of peace will be granted to the world."
So Russia listened to what everyone else in the world was asking for, and they were like, yeah, go on.
Well, she's writing these in 1943, so she's writing them well after the fact. But
it takes you ages to get around to stuff.
But she's saying that in 1917 the Virgin Mary told her World War I would end. Conveniently, she's only telling anyone this 23 years later, well after it had ended. So Pope Pius, he had just died. So the Pope that you mentioned in the second secret, he had just died in 1939, the same year a certain World War II broke out.
Oh.
But she's writing this halfway through the war.
Yeah.
So she conveniently predicted World War II, but didn't tell anyone until it had already been happening for 3 years.
I can sense a little bit of skepticism coming from you.
No. But if you were told in 1917, you get a prophecy from Virgin Mary saying World War I's going to end, but unless you convert Russia to Catholicism, there'll be World War II by 1939. That's a good prophecy. That all comes true. It's pretty impressive stuff. It's less impressive if you don't tell anyone until after the war starts.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, like 25 years after you were told.
Yeah.
But still pretty good.
Yeah.
That's why it's called a secret. It's not called the three
She's also-
blabs of Fatima.
She was a shepherd
Yeah.
in Portugal. She wasn't paying attention to world events. She was like, I'll get to it. Just leave me, give me all you already know.
Rule 1, herd the sheep. Rule 2, there is no rule 2. It's only about the sheep. She only got to this stuff after the flock had gone.
Sleep under a tree. That's a good one.
Yeah, so she's giving away all this after the war was already started. Less impressive. But still, 2 out of 3 there. It's not bad. But when the bishop asked her to give him the third secret in 1943, he's probably fucking gunning for it. He sees the first 2, he's like, why didn't you tell us this 20 years ago?
That's true.
Yeah, he's gunning for the third one. But she refuses to give it to him, saying that she wasn't convinced that God had clearly authorized her to act yet. So despite that...
Was that her reasoning for the second one as well?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe, it wasn't time to say it until just then. But in October, the bishop makes her do it because she's pretty sick and he's worried she's going to die before she tells him the secret.
George R. R. Martin style.
Exactly. She's fucking, you finish it. Just write it down in a sealed envelope. So she puts it down in a sealed envelope.
Do you think that the third secret of Fatima is Jon Snow fucked his sister?
John.
We could have been. We should have known this years ago.
Jon Snow bucked his cousin. So she puts it in a sealed envelope and instructs that it shouldn't be open until 1960, when it will all appear clearer.
Like Johnny Carson
Like Johnny
on
Carson.
TV.
Yeah. Just
Jon Snow fucked his sister. The third secret of Fatima.
there definitely is a Johnny Carson bit where he said the third secret of Fatima. I think this is a much bigger reference in the 50s than it was to us now.
Yeah, it would have been. It's class.
It's a big secret. You got visions of hell, premonitions of World War II. What's the third one? There's only one left. But so she writes it down in a sealed envelope. The bishop keeps it for a couple of years and then sends it to the Vatican. He sends it to Rome in 1957. So that's it. No one's seen it. At the time of the hijacking in 1981, only Pope John Paul II and a couple other senior figures in the Vatican had read the third secret. So it's big news. But maybe not for long. Downey's demands that he's thrown out the window of the plane opened with the paragraph, "A former Trappist monk from a monastery in Rome reveals after 20 years how a simple punch in the nose of his superior, which led to his excommunication and expulsion from the cloister, becomes the means whereby the greatest secret of all time was made known." It's the ramblings of a madman.
Yeah.
But he wants the people to know.
I love this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's hijacked a plane so that we can find out the third secret of Fatima, and he wants it printed in the newspapers.
No, this is fantastic. This is like, I know we talked about it during the UFO episode about like the America releasing like these are the the UFOs during COVID, and people were just kind of swept it under the rug. No one really cared too much. If someone just had hijacked a plane, I suppose that did happen in 2001. But if someone had hijacked a plane in America years ago and just went, I want to know what happened at Roswell.
Yeah. It's amazing that no one's, just send me a picture of inside Area 51.
Yeah.
Or, maybe someone will hijack another plane and be like, tell me what the Saudis did during 9/11. Be very poetic.
Tell me if 9/11 was an inside job.
So he's doing it for it's amazing. Well, even when Trump got into office, he said he'd release all the documents on JFK, but he didn't,
because there is no documents of JFK.
No documents. They're all. That's one of my favorite Onion articles of all time. It's just like Pentagon in panic after they realized they've been using a black highlighter for years. Thousands of documents ruined. But so, all right, after he landed the plane in France, Larry, he released 5 women and children in exchange for the promise of a full refueling. But the officials at the airport said that the aircraft was too big to take off from the tiny airport if it had a full tank. I don't know if that's true or they're just...
Yeah, I don't know. Now, if you had seen Top Gun Maverick.
Okay, we're not doing Top Gun Maverick again, all right?
Well, this one's actually about a plane.
From the
This
time...
makes way more sense. And this guy's a fucking loose cannon.
He is a loose cannon.
Much like my boy.
Goose Cannon.
You really have to watch this film.
I won't watch it. From the time it landed, the plane was surrounded by local police, as well as special French anti-terrorist paratroopers, all under the instruction of French Minister of the Interior, Christian Bonnet. So meanwhile, while this is all going on in France, the Iranian government had released a helpful statement saying that they wouldn't let the airplane land at any other airports. They wouldn't even let it into Iranian airspace, which I think means they would just shoot it down.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah. And you said there's 108 people on board, plus him.
Probably, I think, a few women and children have been let go.
Oh, for the refuel. Yeah.
Yeah, still like 100 odd people. And they're just like, yeah, if that fucking comes near me, I'm shooting it down.
Just put into context. Anyone who's ever complained about a delayed flight,
yeah,
like having to get connections or just a long... These were expecting to go from Dublin to London.
And they were so close.
Yeah, and now they're in Paris.
Yeah.
Or somewhere near it.
If even. I don't know. It's up near
North.
the Belgian border. Yeah. But they're stuck. They've been stuck there for hours.
Sounds like a Ryanair flight.
What?
What? Don't say it about Dennis. Don't just leave him.
I wanted to go to London Heathrow, and instead I've got to commute across the English Channel. But it's remember in February 2020 when the Iranians shot down that plane, and everyone was like, "It's World War III."
Yeah.
And then luckily, everyone caught a cold for 2 years and had to stay inside. That was mad. Anyway, so the journalist Sam Smith, he's hanging around with Reynolds and the other Irish crew. He later say, the minister, who was obviously concerned for the crew and the passengers on the plane, also had a very real concern for the aircraft. Because Minister Reynolds would turn to me from time to time and say, "That's our bloody aircraft. We gotta get that aircraft back. That's an Aer Lingus plane." So his heart's definitely in the right place there.
Yeah. Do you think...
If I lose that bloody plane, it'll be my arse. I'm Minister of Transport. Get the Minister for People over here if you want to give a shit about the passengers.
How has this not been made into a movie? Starring Colin Meaney.
Oh my God.
Just reprising the exact same type of character he was in Con Air.
Yeah, just the...
He's like, "That's my car!" But this time it's, "That's my plane!"
And John Cusack's just feeding him pertinent information the whole time. And Meaney's just like... I think at one stage he hangs up at him. He's like, just does a little ghoulish laugh. He's like, "Well, that hippie's probably off polishing his sandals." He's like, "John, they've kidnapped the little girl. You gotta get down here right now." He's like, fuck it. Yeah, go hug a tree.
You missed that about 90s movies. There's the same I was watching Fallen Down a couple of months ago. And they're like, they keep coming in with very pertinent information to the police.
Yeah.
And then they're just like, "This fucking Korean guy."
Yeah. Yeah, the Korean guy trying to ring the police. Well,
he goes into the station and they're like, "This fucking guy again."
Why don't you tell a walking pal? But yeah, after it's an 8-hour standoff at the French airport, the plane was eventually stormed by French paratroopers. So they told Downey that a door needed to be opened for a sick woman, and for some reason he was like, "Yeah, that's grand." And
just make sure the back door is closed first.
Oh, they stormed in. They came in the back door.
Then they make sure the front door is closed first.
Oh, well, yeah, but apparently, supposedly he was distracted. He was reading a telegram from Irish press saying that they'd publish all his demands. So he's probably sitting up the front being like, we did it, Downey. Meanwhile, all these paratroopers came storming in the back. No shots fired. None of the hostages injured. They just take him with no resistance.
Why didn't he set himself on fire?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he was the full shilling.
Mm.
He probably covered himself in petrol, but he forgot a lighter. Because that hasn't been mentioned yet so far. But after the troopers take Downey off the plane, all the passengers are still stuck on the plane for a little bit until Albert Reynolds, who will be played by Colin Meaney in the upcoming film, he comes on and tells them, "Lads, we're going home." Which is, I don't know why they just didn't take. So he goes on the plane and tells them they're all free, which is a nice little. So there's great scenes.
Bake 'em away, toys.
There's great footage of all the rescued hostages come out. And they give them like a big meal in the airport. So they're all just sitting around like eating food and drinking wine. And they're like delighted. It's not if they went through like it's probably 12 hours all in of a tragic event, and the footage just then be like, "Wait, oh," and they're drinking with the paratroopers and stuff, and there's a scene then where like one of the paratroopers is kind of explaining what went on. Is like, yes, the element of surprise was crucial, the key to our success. And halfway through it, some Eldol just goes up and like kisses him on the cheek. He's like, merci, and just walks off. It's so good. They're all just delighted. Sure, what? I always wanted to go to France.
Sure, if you got a free meal and a trip to France.
Oh, yeah, sure. And sure, what? You're just sitting on the plane. Sure, it's nice to be out of the house.
Isn't it something to do with a Tuesday?
It's something to be at. But, so after Downey is taken into custody, the police begin to find out a bit more about the man. He was a 55-year-old Australian guy from Perth. He'd been living in Dublin since 1978, where he ran an unsuccessful language school. So I don't know what language he was trying to teach.
English. To the Irish.
Yeah. What do you mean you bloody speak English here? Before that, he'd been a Trappist monk in Trefonte Abbey in Rome in the 1950s, but he'd been kicked out in 1954 after he punched his superior in the face.
Yes.
So that's what his note
was. Was he demanding to know the third secret of Fatima?
I think possibly. Well, I don't know, because they're supposed to have a vow of silence in the monastery. Maybe he was just sick of that and he punched his way out of it. I don't know. But after that, he became a tour guide at a certain shrine in Fatima, Portugal.
Ooh.
So maybe that's where he got his obsession with the third secret. I don't know. But at some stage in his busy life, he'd also managed to father 5 children and get involved in a fraud case in Australia over $80,000 worth of land. So, an interesting life. Lived a full life. But, yeah, I think he got 5 years, which seems shockingly low.
Yeah, but inflation, that's probably like 10 years now.
That's true, yeah. But
5 years isn't enough for...
5 years is not nearly enough for kidnapping 100 people.
Yeah, but I guess it's before... That'd be seen... Like, now you can't get away with hijacking people at all.
No, now
they
it's
hate that.
Good Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah, but back then, they were probably like, it's the pre-bad times.
Yeah.
So, they were probably like, well, he didn't do it.
Maybe they were like, in fairness, I was kind of rooting for him. I kind of want to know what the third secret is as well.
Yeah, well, everyone probably does.
Yeah.
Did they have a ballpark figure, a rough kind of range on when they're expecting to release that?
Yeah.
Like
13th of May.
13th of May.
In the year 2000. It's already out.
What?
Do you want to hear it?
The third secret of Fatima is already out.
Third secret of Fatima has been out for 22 years.
What was Ed McCurban on about? Do some research.
83 years after they first saw the apparition in Fatima, Cardinal Angelo Sondano announced that the third secret would finally be released. So according to the Vatican, it was published in June of 2000, and according to the Vatican it said, I write in obedience to you, my God, who command me to do so through His Excellency the Bishop of Leora and through your Holy Mother and mine. After the 2 parts which I have already explained, at the left of Our Lady and a little above, we saw an angel with a flaming sword in his left hand flashing. It gave out flames that looked as though they would set the world on fire, but they died out in contact with the splendor of Our Lady radiated towards him from her right hand. Pointing to the earth with his right hand, the angel cried out in a loud voice, Penance, penance, penance. And we saw in an immense light that is God, something similar to how people appear in a mirror when they pass in front of it, a bishop dressed in white. We had the impression that it was the Holy Father. Other bishops, priests, men and women, religious, going up a steep mountain, at the top of which there was a big cross of rough-hewn trunks as of a cork tree with the bark. Before reaching there, the Holy Father passed through a big city half in ruins and half trembling with halting step, afflicted with pain and sorrow. He prayed for the souls of the corpses he met on his way. Having reached the top of the mountain, on his knees at the foot of the big cross, he was killed by a group of soldiers who fired bullets and arrows at him. And in the same way there died, one after another, the other bishops, priests, men and women of religion, and various lay people of different ranks and positions. Beneath the 2 arms of the cross there were 2 angels, each with a crystal aperseum in his hand, in which they gathered up the blood of the martyrs, and with it sprinkled the souls that were making their way to God.
It's too much.
It's not anything.
There's too much going on, though.
Wouldn't kidnap. If I kidnapped 113 people and that was the reward, I'm going up in flames. No one's getting off that plane alive.
Yeah, because the second one's fairly clear.
The second one's got detail in it.
Yeah.
The first one, nothing. The second one, bit of detail, even if it was.
Well, the first one, if it's true, is like a
Yeah.
it's hell.
But so in the third one, they reckon with the announcement, they reckon that the secret was about 20th century persecution of Christians that accumulated in the failed Pope John Paul II, the assassination.
Why didn't they just say he looked like a bishop?
I don't know.
That's odd.
Because you got to keep it as vague as possible. That's how these things work.
Yeah, but like God passed by a mirror and he looked like a human would. A bishop dressed in white. That's not how people look in mirrors.
Yeah.
That's how bishops look in mirrors. And as we all know, they're demons.
Maybe it was a reverse bishop. I don't know.
No, bishops can't go back. They have to go diagonally.
Yeah. But again, what they said was to do with, I guess, the city's trembling and the holy man walking up the hill and then getting shot was to do with Pope John Paul II getting shot.
Yeah, and what year was that?
19 years before this happened.
Yeah.
Before this was released. So again, they said, well, yeah, it might have happened 19 years ago, but we knew about it in 1945.
I mean, they just decided to keep it to themselves.
Yeah, just keep it to themselves.
Even though they knew it was going to be the Pope getting shot.
Well, no, they just retroactively were like, oh yeah, that's what it was. Yeah,
I suppose that's the like Nostradamus and all of that crap.
Yeah.
Where people just look back and go, right, here are all the predictions. Just wait for something similar to happen.
Yeah. So, pretty stupid.
It is pretty stupid. I didn't know that the third secret was already there.
It is. And now there's probably more. Yeah, I didn't have time to go into it really, but there's conspiracy. Obviously, as soon as that came out, people were like, "That's not the real third secret.
Give me the secret.
Give me the secret."
I want the conspiracies.
Yeah, because it's written. Well, the conspiracies are just right that it's written in like a letter format. It refers to. I don't know. They're basically like that's not the real secret because it's stupid. It's basically
The first two were stupid.
The first two were stupid, but
if
people
anything,
like them.
this makes me believe the first two more, and that none of them are true.
No, that seems like the most likely thing. But
and also 6 times in 6 months.
And yeah, only 3 secrets.
Only 3 secrets.
A couple of secrets are missing there by my count.
And also, do you reckon that was because 1 month in after the first apparition, she came back and she was like, "Have you not wrote these down yet?" And then just every month on the dot, and they're like, she just gave up.
Maybe, but let's see. Is there any more about this guy's life?
Right, so he was in the Vatican.
No, he was a monk.
He was a Trappist monk.
Yeah.
So very quiet.
Yeah, he didn't like that.
Punched his
superior. Got kicked out for whatever reason.
Probably the punching.
Being a carpenter. He said he was a professional boxer at some point. We all know he could throw a punch anyway.
Oh.
He was wanted. Yeah, I don't know. He was wanted in Perth for some sort of land fraud. I don't know if he claimed there was land that was there that wasn't there. I don't know how you defraud land. There's a lot of land in Australia. It's pretty much the main thing they have there. So his language school was in Shannon. He also tried to set up a 2,000-seat all-purpose stadium in Shannon, and they said no, which he took umbrage with at some point.
Did he say what it was for?
All purposes.
All.
Every purpose. What about that doesn't make any sense?
Sounds like he doesn't know what he wants to do.
No.
He's a man searching for a cause.
But he's apparently very pro-Republic as well. He was like Irish ancestry.
I'm back on board.
Back on board, yeah. But he didn't use that. Maybe that was one of his demands. I have a feeling there was more, because it's a 9-page. I keep wanting to use the word manifesto, but it's a 9-page list of demands. I think there's probably other ones in there, but obviously...
It was one of them, the 6 counties.
The 6 counties, yeah. That was... 6 counties in the third Fatima, Secret of Fatima.
Well, see, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Right there. Because you start way too high. And then they'll come back with a counter offer that's a bit lower.
Oh, yeah.
So you might not get the third Secret of Fatima.
Yeah.
But
you could get Tyrone.
You could, yeah.
Yeah. 1 county. So, well, yeah, he was sentenced to 5 years in prison in France for air piracy. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wrote letters to the Taoiseach when he was in prison. He said that the IRA hunger strikes were on his mind when he hijacked the flight, but he was going for the big prize. Yeah, I just summarized this. I don't actually really know.
You assume that was was one of the demands.
Yeah, I think it was in his mind in the sense of like he
afterwards he's like, how do I spin this?
Yeah, sure, yeah. I don't know. He felt kind of annoyed that the Irish he wasn't accepted in Ireland. He sounds like he was a bit cracked, to be honest. But maybe he thought if he got the third secret of Fatima, the Irish people would love him. But I don't know. Didn't work out. He went to prison for 5 years. Do you want to know how much time he served?
2. No, I'm going to guess more. Did he try to hijack something inside the prison?
No, 18 months.
18 months for hijacking a plane. That's
it. Why wouldn't you at that stage?
Yeah.
Just for fun.
What? Now, why was he tried in France?
They probably didn't want to get him on a plane again to fly home in case he had previous, you know.
Just don't let him on with all the gasoline.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, it seems like he wasn't tried in France really at all. Does this fucking let him go?
Yeah, 18 months. That's a different world.
It really is.
But sure, that's how did I tell that story already? I know a man who was living in Australia years and years ago.
Oh yeah, you did. Yeah.
Yeah, and he
flew back via Japan with no passport.
Yes. He had his passport, but he had a different man's boarding ticket.
Yeah.
And then when they asked him about it, he just said, "That's my name in Irish.
Yeah.
That's my name in English."
There you go.
And they were like, "Yes, this is very good."
There were a lot of Germans working in the airport.
A lot of Germans.
But I'll finish up on this then. As a result of the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine, Pope Francis announced that he would consecrate Russia and Ukraine to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. Now, I don't really know what that means.
I was going to ask.
It's in the second secret.
Uh.
She keeps saying, in the second secret, she's like, the world won't be at peace unless Russia is consecrated to my Immaculate Heart. Don't really know what that means, but he did some magic mumbo-jumbo priest stuff. And now, you're welcome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there peace yet?
I don't know. Check the news there.
Give it 15 years.
Give it 15 years. The fourth secret of Fatima. Watch out for Russia and Ukraine. Also, COVID's coming in 2022. Oh, it already happened 15 years. Sorry about that.
I knew I
should have read it when I wrote it down.
I knew I shouldn't have stopped for that haircut.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
That was good. That's like proper Patreon content because we wouldn't put that out on the regular.
No. They wouldn't know what the secrets of Fatima were. Those common folk.
No, it's because is that one of those you started researching and expected there to be loads more in? Now it is a great story.
That's why I did it today, because I knew that it's finite.
Yes,
it's one and done.
3
and done. I get you get a little bit about. Yeah, it's just funny to imagine Albert Reynolds over there.
Yeah,
for some reason. Yeah, the footage of him just sort of taking control is fun. The footage of all them after the hijacking, just celebrating and drinking wine with the paratroopers. Yeah, great stuff.
Fantastic.
The fact that a madman hijacked the plane in the middle of like the biggest civil war in Ireland, and then used it to try and get this fucking mad letter. It's all good stuff.
Maybe he thought he could trade up though. Like he could trade the third secret of Fatima for
that 2,000-seater in Shannon.
And from there.
Well, yeah. So, what do you think of the third secrets of Fatima now? If you kidnapped 113 people in a plane, what would your demands be? If you had to like demand a piece of media be released, the third secret of Fatima.
I'd say maybe Roswell.
Yeah.
JFK. One of those ones, just because it's ones that people would be really interested in. Like, because I always heard about the third secret of Fatima. I never actually looked up what the first two were.
Yeah.
And now, in hindsight, if I wouldn't have bothered.
Wouldn't it? No.
Yeah, it's like if there was a trilogy of movies and you watched the first two and they were a bit,
Yeah. Like the first two Hobbit films, and the third one came out. Not bothered.
Yeah, they were not good. Yeah.
You could demand the release of the director's special cut of Lord of the Rings.
I'd like to see do you know what? The extra long director's cut of Tropic Thunder.
Oh, yeah?
Because originally I think they said that was meant to be like 2.5, 250.
Okay.
And then they cut it down. Even the director's cut ended up being like 2 hours. But Ben Stiller was adamant that there was loads more.
Okay, yeah.
So that'd be pretty good. Yeah. Underrated film.
It would be interesting to see if someone had kidnapped a bunch of passengers maybe 3 years ago and demanded the release of George R. R. Martin's like the second last book. What would be funny is that global reaction would be like, this is terrible. At least 30% of people would be like, but hear him out.
Yeah. I think you'd find a lot more people.
I think you probably would.
He's taken as a man who's never read one word of any of the books
No.
and has forgotten most of the major plot points from the TV show.
Yeah.
It's bullshit.
He's
is
taking
what
the
it is.
piss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's too long. He's nearly dead. And we were saying that like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Because he's a heavy man.
He's not a healthy looking man. No.
Yeah. And he's old.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm going to go and do 8 other books about the backstory for the world and dragons and bollocks. Feck your novellas.
Yeah.
Do one for the fellas. But yeah.
So George, he's 73 years old.
He doesn't have long left.
No.
I'd say, he just doesn't have it in him to...
He couldn't be ours.
He's seen the backlash. Yeah, he's gone all...
Yeah.
Life is as good as it could possibly be for him right now.
Yeah.
He can do whatever he wants
Yeah.
to whoever he wants. But yeah, he's like, all that can happen is
More backlash.
more backlash. You saw what happened with the TV show. Everyone thought it was shite. He's since come out now and said he was basically cut out of the last 2 seasons. And you're like,
That's not true.
That's not true at
No.
all. That can't be true.
What seems more likely is that was probably close enough to how it was going to end. Just sort of executed badly.
Mm.
But now he's like, don't know what to do here.
Flip the script.
Flip the script. I mean, it's funny no one had done it up until that. I'm not going to say that, but if you have a classic hero villain tale and then, oh fuck, shit, you killed Sean Bean halfway, he was going to be the good guy and you killed him. Wow, this is crazy. I'm in for the ride now. Who's next? And you're like, oh yeah.
Or you think they're going to go Roseanne style and it was all a dream.
It was all a dream.
Back to season 1.
You can keep killing off your main characters and it's cool and shocking. And his son's going to take up the mantle and he's going to lead the army down and, oh fuck, the Red Wind, they killed him as well. No way. This show just keeps getting crazier. Who's going to take over next? And eventually you realize that you've run out of characters and some of them are going to just have to not die.
Yeah, and it's a bit...
He can't keep...
Some of them have to come back to life.
Yeah, exactly. It's you got Jon Snow and Tyrion left and you're like, okay, well now these have to live for the next 4 seasons
Yeah.
in a show that's become famous for like no one has plot armor. Anyone can go at any time until it gets to season 6 and like, well, I'm not introducing more characters at this point. we gotta finish it up here.
At some point Daenerys would have fallen off one of the dragons.
Yeah.
They're very high up.
They're very high. Where did she learn to ride them?
Yeah.
I didn't see a saddle on any of those. How did you train those dragons? Did you watch How to Train Your Dragon?
How do you train your knight?
Yeah.
We're also doing t-shirts.
Yeah. I don't even know what it is yet, but I want to make a t-shirt that says How to Drain Your Naggin.
Oh, this is going to be a fun season.
Oh God, we've lost our minds. It's been a great October.
Yeah, talk to you soon.
Good luck.
Shafter.
All right. On the 2nd of May, 1981.
Oh, I do like the more recent stories.
Yeah. You'll have a context for this. Aer Lingus Flight 164.
This is the third secret of Fatima.
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go.
I had this wrote down to eventually do.
Well, here it is.
Now I don't have to, I'm not going to put my feet up in the bed and relax.
You only read as far
shite.
as the first secret. Well, I might edit that out and put it back in the end because I've written this in a way